Good morning. All right, so hope everybody's doing good. Today we're going to be reading Matthew 7:24 through 29. Matthew 7:24 through 29. And this will actually complete the Sermon on the Mount. So good stuff. I pray that that something you've heard in here has helped you. Obviously the scriptures have the power to change. I would encourage you to try to maybe take time to read it on your own, though. It's been my experience that, in that quiet time, reading it on my own has really had a huge impact on my relationship with God, my understanding, and then it's just made it more of a personal experience. But either way, I appreciate y'all, and I've really enjoyed doing this. But Matthew 7:24 says, "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it." And when Jesus finished these sayings, the crowds were astonished at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one who had authority and not as their scribes. When I first started practicing a spiritual way of life, building a relationship with God. Really, when I first started, reading my Bible, so it was suggested to me to read Matthew 5, 6, and 7 once a week at least, and to build my house on the rock was always something that had really stuck out to me, and is something that was really stressed upon. It's pretty much the wraps up everything that we've gone over, and something that really strikes me, is that it's through faith that we're saved. But it's so important that as a believer that we continue to do certain things, that we live in a way that's different than we lived before, and we do that through following the teachings of Jesus Christ, because what Jesus teaches really isn't the normal of society. It's actually quite the opposite. And it's by doing these things that I am building a foundation, that I am building my house on the rock by practicing this spiritual way of living. And it's through the practice and the action that I'm really rewiring my thoughts. I'm renewing my mind. Sometimes it's hard to think your way into a new way of thinking. Hi, baby. But it's through the action that I've found that over time, and it's not instantaneous for me. It's been a process. Hey. But I have found that through time, through the action, through the practice, that my mind, my thought process, the way that I feel, the way that I think, the way that I respond, the way that I react, it's really changed. And and it's the trials and the tribulations of life, they're going to come, it's going to happen. It's a guarantee, as long as we're living, we're going to experience challenges, and those are the storms of life. So, it's the destruction that I'm avoiding now because of the things that I'm practicing and the things that I'm believing. What good is it to believe if I'm not actually following through and practicing what it is that I believe? As you read later on in the scriptures, it says that faith without works is dead. So my experience is that through practicing this thing and through, really not feeding my emotions and not feeding my my feelings. You know, feelings are important, emotions are important, but it's so important that I'm not feeding the irrational ones or the ones that aren't true. So it's through the discernment of a lot of help, you know, talking with other people, you know, trying to express and open myself up. And then usually people can kind of help me navigate, you know, what's true and what's false. And then, you know, even just opening up and just sharing with someone, it really relieves the burden. You know, a problem shared is a problem cut in half. And, you know, it's been a lot of fun going through this, you know, and like I said, it's building us a foundation that will withstand the storms of life. And, you know, if I read these things, and, you know, I could read this every day for the rest of my life, but if I'm not practicing what it says, I mean, I really don't think that that's the proper use of what Jesus had intended for us to do. You know, I really believe that Jesus expected us to do some things, and I believe that even in heaven we're going to have responsibilities. You know, God is a God of organization, you know, because without order it would be chaos. So it's important that I do specific things. You reading? Yeah? You are a good reader. But, man, it's been a blessing to be able to go through this. I think that I'm going to probably do, I'm thinking Luke 15 next for those that are, you know, I'm going to keep posting, man. You know, I'm just going to keep posting this stuff with the hopes that it helps somebody, because, yeah, I feel like that's kind of the responsibility that I have today, because this has helped me so much. It's changed my life. You know, it's changed the way that I think. It's changed the way that I feel. It's changed the way that I approach things. And I'm just so grateful for that, you know, because for a long time it was very dark, you know, with how I lived my life. And, you know, it wasn't like that all the time, but it would just always come to a certain point where I would just be very depressed. I'd be very, you know, just full of fear and just angry and frustrated. And, you know, and really it was because I was just trying to manage my own life and really do the best that I could the only way that I knew how, but it was just it wasn't the right way. So, you know, there's a scripture that said that it's like Proverbs 14:12, and it says that there's a way that seems right to the man, but it leads to destruction. And that's really was a good way to explain my life prior to really trying to follow this deal and surround myself with people and just ask for help. So hope you all have a great day. I hope that if you're going through something, that, you know, you have a group of support that's helping you. And if not, just find somebody, man. Somebody out there is wanting to help you. Somebody out there is willing to help you. Just ask for help. And, you know, if you have that desire to do so, do it, because that willingness doesn't seem to last too long. And, you know, there is a better way to live, and I'm pulling for you. And y'all be good, and I'll do the same.